I've talked a lot about mites on this channel, and every time I post a video about them, somebody says, oh, I had an infestation of mites in my house. And I confess, when I read those comments, and not a lot of them, but a few of them, I have been a little bit skeptical of that. Until now. Let's talk about poultry red mite. Let's talk about how you can get through it. Hello friends, welcome to Chickenlandia. My name is Dahlia. I'm a backyard chicken educator, also known as the president of Chickenlandia. Raising chickens has been the best way for me to find peace and joy in my life, and I want to help you find that too. Okay, Bubba is very dirty. You are very dirty, Bubbalicious. He's molting, and I treated him for scaly leg mite, and so when you treat for scaly leg mite, they get oil on them, and so he just got himself all dirty, but he's okay. He's okay. I'm gonna put you down though. So it was a few days before we were supposed to leave for vacation, because of course it was. Of course it was. And I went out to the coop, and there was like a microfiber cloth, because I use microfiber cloths to wipe down the walls and the windows and stuff in my coop. It was on the floor, so I picked it up and hung it back up. Went inside like nothing, went to go wash my hands, and I looked at my hands, and they were crawling with mites. So of course I freaked out. I washed my hands. I ran into the garage actually, and I just like stripped everything off, left it in the garage. Luckily, like when you come in from the garage in my house, there's a shower right there. So I just went right into the shower, took a hot shower, washed my hair, washed everything, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is how it happens. This is what people have been telling me about. So that night I took a flashlight and I went to my coop and I shined the flashlight like in the crevices and stuff on my roosts. I looked on the walls. If there were any cracks in the walls, I shined the flashlight. And I did see mites, and they're just like little dark mites crawling around. And I also saw blood spots on the roosts, little itty bitty tiny blood spots. So I was like, okay, this is what's happening. I do know that these mites multiply very quickly. They were not in my coop 2 weeks prior to that, but it didn't take very long for them to really infest the coop. So if you look online, there's all kinds of ways where you can like leave tape or something on your roost to see if you have red mite. Honestly, like if you take a good flashlight or a headlamp out there and you look in the crevices, look on the roosts, you're gonna see them crawling around, but you may need to use other methods if you don't have that many, but I could see them. I mean, they were there. So poultry red mite, they have a little bit of a different behavior than other mites, like let's say a northern fowl or scaly leg mite. Those mites actually live on the bird, and poultry red mite does not do that. They live in the coop, they live on the roosts, they live in any kind of dark area where they can hide out during the day, and then at night they will come out and bite your chickens, and they can do a lot of damage. Chickens can get anemic from being bitten by these mites. Their feathers can look pretty bad, maybe combs and wattles, kind of pale, and they can just generally be like stressed out because they're irritated. Like they might have irritation on their skin. You might see them preening a lot, like more than normal, and they could pick up behaviors that are really not great. Like they could start bullying each other, they could start eating eggs, they could start doing all kinds of stuff that is signaling to you that they are stressed out. Now, as far as these type of mites infesting your home, you can see how that could be a possibility just from my story where I actually like brought them into my house via my hands. And I know a lot of people are concerned about that, but I do want to let you know, because I don't want you to be scared, that for these type of mites to actually infest your house, like that would need to be a pretty extreme situation where a lot of things got missed before it got to that point. I'm not saying it's not impossible, and I'm certainly not trying to pass judgment on anybody. It would take some special circumstances for that to happen. Ultimately, mites need a bird host. They do. Like, they need a bird host in order to live. Now, poultry red mite can live a long time off of a host. They really can. Like that's the super tough thing about them. With very reasonable husbandry practices and simple habits that you should already have in place, like washing your hands when you come inside from dealing with your chickens or from dealing with the coop, you are going to be able to avoid having these things in your house. So I don't want you to worry about that. It is extremely unlikely that that's going to happen to you. So I want to take you through step by step everything that I did to get rid of the poultry red mite, because they are notoriously hard to get rid of and it is very common for them to return. So here I am about to leave for vacation and like someone was going to come and watch my chickens, and I didn't want that person to have to deal with mites, like literally crawling on them. I did not want them to have to deal with that. So what I did was I cleaned the coop out. I really cleaned the coop out, and I had to take out all my beautiful hemp bedding that I was planning on doing deep litter with. I had to take that out. I used hemp bedding from My Favorite Chicken. Love that bedding. Chef's kiss. But yeah, I had to take it all out, and I sprayed the coop and I sprayed my chickens with Elector PSP. But I knew that I was going to have to do more as soon as I got back from vacation. I was on vacation for 7 days. And the reason for that is that it's really hard to get them all. With these type of mites, they hang out in like these, really hard to reach places, and their life cycle is really short. You really have to saturate everything. It's best to do more than one application. I wanted to use a different product, and I was like, okay, but this is just gonna hold us over so that it's not a disaster and an awful experience for my chicken sitter. Okay, so when I got back from vacation is when I really had to get to work, and here's everything that I did. First thing I did was clean my coop again, because that is something that I knew I needed to do. I just cleaned it all out. I got all the chickens out of here, just locked them out. I took all of my roosts, my beautiful roosts, and I got rid of them. I just got rid of the roosts. I did not want to do that, but it was just something that I had to do. If you can't do that, then don't worry about it. That was something that I did because I could do it. All we can do is what we can do. I got rid of the roosts. The first man built some more roosts for me that did not have the red mite on them. And I proceeded to treat my coop, and this time, instead of using the Elector PSP, because it's good to switch it up every once in a while. These kind of critters can build up resistance. You don't want that. And for something like this, I decided to use permethrin. Now, that's not an easy decision for me, because permethrin is probably the most kind of like synthetic thing that I will use in my coop. But for something like this, I really do think it was warranted, at least for me. I used it at a higher concentration than I would if I was like using it just directly on the chickens. This is all according to the directions on the bottle. I sprayed it everywhere in my coop, and I mean everywhere. The ceiling, Julie, of course Julie helped me. I got rid of like all the things in the coop that I could get rid of and just saturated the whole thing with the permethrin spray. And you know what I did? I didn't let my chickens back in. I didn't. I decided, you know what? I'm just going to leave them in one of their runs. That's where they're gonna sleep. And then they have access to the regular Chickenlandia that they can go into. But at night, they're gonna sleep in the run instead of going back in the coop. Because the red mite life cycle is about 5 to 7 days. And they multiply quicker when it's hot, and it was hot during this time. So I was like, what's the use letting them back into the coop? Having to put shavings in there and get rid of the shavings, use my beautiful hemp bedding and waste it and waste that money. I decided, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not putting them back in there. I'm gonna treat the coop first 3 times. And that's what I did. Every 7 days, I treated the coop, and I saturated it with the permethrin spray. Now, one thing I want to say about permethrin, there is some thought that it is an endocrine disruptor, and we also know that it's definitely harmful to cats, and it's not good for shellfish, and it's not good for bees. So I am super duper aware of that, and I am very careful to just only do this in like extreme situations and keep it all in the coop. There's a funny cat that likes to come around here. His name is Moose, and he's a great little cat, and he's a good mouser, and I don't want him to get hurt. So I made sure, the coop doors were closed and Moose didn't have any access to that, because I would hate for anything bad to happen to them. So that's really important for you to know if you're gonna use any kind of pyrethroid. Not good for cats. So my chickens were super stressed out during this time. They really didn't like having to live in their runs. They wanted to go back into their coop. They wanted to lay eggs in their coop, but I just couldn't let them do that. It was an extreme situation. So we had to do what we had to do. There are some things that you can do to mitigate that stress. I always talk about making sure that your chickens have really good nutrition, especially during times of stress. So make sure that they're eating really well. I feed them a really good quality feed. I also put Rescue Remedy in their water. That's a flower remedy that can just like calm them down during times of stress. And there's one other thing that I did. This is the 10 fine mineral salt from Redmond. And this one has garlic in it. So it is a great one to give them, not only when they're stressed out, because this has like great minerals in it and it's gonna help them when they're stressed out, but also the garlic is going to help to repel mites. It's not like a total preventative. Like giving them garlic is not going to guarantee that they're never gonna get mites, but it's a layer of protection for them. And what I do is I will offer them this in one of their waterers and make sure they also have fresh water without the garlic salt in it. And it's just 1 teaspoon per gallon of water. And what I have observed in my flock and in other flocks when people share things with me is that if they need it, they will go for that water. If they want those minerals, if they want that salt, they will go for that water. If they don't need it, they will go for their fresh water. Chickens do need salt. I mean, I did a whole podcast about it. I will leave that link in the description because I know some of you are like, oh no, don't give them salt, that's bad. But there's some nuance to that controversy. So I will leave that link for you in the description so that you can learn more about offering something like this to your chickens and how it can be beneficial for them. Okay, so because I had treated my flock, their actual bodies, with Electro-PSP, I actually didn't treat them again until they were ready to go back into the coop. So 3 weeks later, after I had treated the coop 3 times with the permethrin, I treated the chickens with good old diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth is controversial. I know this. I understand when people have reservations about it. I also know where those reservations come from. If you want to learn more about why I think it's okay to use diatomaceous earth responsibly, then I will leave a link to a blog post that I wrote in the description, so you can check that out and learn about it. So to treat my chickens with the diatomaceous earth, I actually had this funny little contraption that I bought off of Amazon. I really liked it. It worked very well. I made sure to wear a mask. I didn't want to be inhaling a bunch of dust. So I did that. And going forward, it's just important for me to remember and for you to remember that with any kind of mite, and including poultry red mite, the key is to make the host inhospitable to them because they need their host. So what I have been doing ever since then is putting a little bit of diatomaceous earth on their roosts because I don't want the mites, if there's any of them left in the coop, I don't want them to try and reinfest the roosts so that they can get to the chickens. I also put some diatomaceous earth in the chickens' nesting boxes because of course I have broodies and I have chickens that are laying in the nesting boxes. So I put a dusting of diatomaceous earth in there and I'm really trying to stay on top of it because with something like this, you have to be diligent. You have to. And I've seen it so many times. Every time I get lazy and I don't do the things that I'm telling everybody else to do, I don't follow my own advice, that's when I end up with stuff like this. These are not the only things I've been doing. There is something very important I know that you guys want to hear about, and that's what I'm going to tell you about next. A few weeks ago, I mentioned that I had learned about something called predatory mites. Now, these are beneficial mites that actually eat nuisance mites. There's mites that live in gardens when people are trying to grow vegetables or flowers or whatever, and they can use these beneficial mites to help control the population of the nuisance mites that they don't want in their gardens. Well, one of the mites that these predatory mites will eat are poultry mites. From what I understand, they will eat northern fowl mite. They likely will eat scaly leg mite, I hope so, and they will eat poultry red mite. So what I have been doing in my environment, because ever since we moved to this land, which is beautiful, I'm super grateful about it, but ever since we've moved here, I have been dealing with mites. There's something about this environment, lots of wild birds, lots of wildlife, and it's a great place for mites to hang out, for bird mites to hang out. So I've been dealing with them a lot, and I want to balance the environment more. So what I have been doing is I have ordered predatory mites. I have been spreading them around every week in regular Chickenlandia and in outer Chickenlandia, because you guys know there's 2 Chickenlandias. I haven't been putting them in the coop because there's diatomaceous earth in the coop, and I treated the coop. So if I put the beneficial mites in the coop at this point, they won't live because it's so inhospitable in there for mites to live. That's just something that I had to do. I can't put them in the coop right now because I had an immediate infestation that I had to handle. In the spring, when we're kind of just like coming out of the winter and we're starting over, I think I will try putting them in the coop and see how that works to control them in there. But for now, I'm just putting them in their outside environment. I will tell you right now, this is not a cheap option. It's not. Like, it's been expensive. So I just decided right now I'm going to make this investment. I really won't know how well they worked until probably like a full year of seasons. Like when we get back into the warmer season and I start to see what the mite presence is like, then I will start to see how well this worked. But I did want to let you guys know about it. You've been asking about it. Yes, I have been using the predatory mites. They can be used in a coop if you want to use them in a coop. I'm not sponsored by the company that I'm using. I will leave their link in the description for you. Oh man, I mean, we had an eventful summer. We had an eventful summer here in Chickenlandia. Bears, yeah. What? But now we're in the fall. It's pumpkin spice latte season, and it's also internal parasite season for chickens. Did you know that they're more likely to get internal parasites right now? It does happen, and it's something that you need to look out for if you want to learn more about it, if you want to learn some natural ways to deal with it and prevent it in your flock. That video is on the screen right now. And you know what? It's 100% friendly backyard chickens, education and entertainment, and I know you're gonna love it.